Well, here it is. We're finally getting to test drive the new Toyota HiLux. This is the GR Sport. This is the one we've wanted to drive for some time. How good does it look in this color? I know a lot of you are going to want to buy black, white or silver, but I think this color is fantastic. Now this is a hotly anticipated model. It's a Toyota, it's a HiLux, it's an off-road focused HiLux. So there's 3 ticks there. Everybody wants to know all about it. We're going to take a look at a whole bunch of different things. Obviously the cabin, we're doing some on-road driving, off-road driving, but let's first have a look at what you get for your money. More power, all-terrain tyres and suspension upgrades, the new GR Sport HiLux is the most expensive HiLux ever, starting from $73,990 before on-road costs, but according to Toyota, you get plenty of bang for your buck. The HiLux GR Sport is powered by an uprated 165 kilowatt and 550 Newton metre version of the familiar 2.8 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine, matched with a retuned 6-speed automatic transmission and part-time 4-wheel drive. 3,500 kilogram tow capacity is retained, but payload drops to 780 kilograms. GR Sport HiLux has a wider track front and rear, 135mm and 155mm respectively, as well as rock sliders, recovery points and underbody bash plates. 17-inch alloy wheels specific to the GR Sport run Bridgestone Jeweler all-terrain tyres, and it's 20mm taller in terms of ride height. What does all that mean? Well, the GR Sport HiLux looks as tough as nails, and it certainly doesn't look like any old HiLux. Inside, GR Sport gets a GR branded steering wheel with paddle shifters and a red centre stripe, new front sport seats with leather accented and suede trim, with grey stitching as well, red seat belts, aluminium pedals, technical mesh dashboard inlays, a GR Sport gear selector and all-weather floor mats. Now obviously, if you've sat inside a HiLux cabin, this is going to be familiar to you. However, there's a couple of little points of difference that I think make the GR Sport feel a little bit special and make you feel good about your purchase if you've bought this particular HiLux. First of all, the GR badges, they add that little touch of motorsport credibility. I like that. The red mark at the top of the steering wheel, that works. It's got that sort of rally race feel to it. Looks good, doesn't look out of place. And the seats, Toyota seats are always excellent in terms of their comfort. You'll find in any of our reviews that we've done on Toyota products, we always talk about how comfortable the seats are over long distances. The seats that are in the GR Sport HiLux are excellent. I love the way they're trimmed as well. This is a comfortable, functional cabin. It's time to go for a drive. Now there's a lot to be said for the off-road credibility of something like any Toyota HiLux really, but something like the GR Sport HiLux, because this is, after all, Toyota's most off-road focused version of this vehicle. So the off-road work that we've just done there, that basic course where we've had a look at things like articulation, wheel travel, clearance, grip on slippery surfaces, the way that the off-road traction control system works in a situation where you're going to be if you take this vehicle off-road and do any proper testing. There's a lot to be said for its ability in an environment like that. But the overwhelming majority of buyers of a vehicle like the GR Sport HiLux, regardless of what we'd like to think and regardless of what we tell you about its off-road ability, are going to drive this vehicle around town on sealed roads. And that's exactly what we're going to go and test now. So we're driving out of the off-road facility onto some of these country B roads around Orange in New South Wales to have a look how the GR Sport behaves on-road, because despite the fact that this vehicle's natural environment is on unsealed dirt roads, rock, water crossings, things like that, they're going to spend most of their time around town. So let's take a look at that right now. Post-launch, as we work our way up to 100 kilometres an hour, we want to do a lot more testing with the GR Sport HiLux. So that's going to be things like specific off-road testing, specific tow testing. But immediately when you look at a vehicle that is this off-road focused and this off-road capable, you're probably thinking that there'd have to be some compromises for what it's able to do on road. Now we know that there's been the removal of a rear stabilizer bar and that has been done to allow more wheel articulation or travel off-road. So you might think initially that that's going to affect the way that this drives on-road. And a couple of points need to be made. Firstly, this is not a sports car. If you want to drive on these country roads and really hook in and have some fun, you want to be driving something like a GR86 or a GR Supra if you're looking through the Toyota catalogue. So this is not designed and built to be a sports car. And the second thing is that just about any dual cab really is compromised in some way when you're on roads like this without any load in the tray. That's despite the fact that the majority of them end up on roads like this without anything in the tray. That's just the reality of the way these things get used. So there is some of that firmness on roads like this at the rear end, especially when you can feel that it does a little bit of that high frequency stuff over repetitive bumps in the road. On a pretty smooth road like this, it's quite good, and on regular country roads, it's quite good as well, but you will notice that firmness without any weight in the tray. If you're going to put a canopy, if you're going to put some touring gear in it, if you're going to put a couple of 100 kilos of weight in there, I would suspect that that's almost entirely going to disappear. You won't have an issue with it at all. Engine and gearbox, I think the added power and torque that this gets, so it's a 10% gain, I think it makes a difference, I really do. Often a gain that is that not small, but not a huge gain either, you're likely to drive the vehicle on road and say, okay, well, I can't really feel a material difference in the way this vehicle drives, but GR Sport HiLux does feel punchier on the road, and the engine and gearbox are nicely matched. They work quite well, and while no vehicle is perfect, I think when you take into account what this vehicle has been directed at, I think the engine and gearbox work together really well. In regard to general comfort and amenity, I think it's fair to say that the GR HiLux does a really good job of doing what the regular Aussie family is going to want to do if they're doing long distance off-road touring. Now obviously around town that's a whole different skill set. Do you need an off-road focused dual cab around town? No. Do some of you need a dual cab around town at all? No. That doesn't mean that people aren't going to buy them. But this is pretty comfortable. It seems functional. It's got all of the regular Toyota HiLux cabin features that we've come to know and expect. And I think it's going to do a good job for Aussies who are touring around Australia and spending long periods of time in the cabin. Now, if you're on a slippery gravel or dirt road and you're in rear-wheel drive, this will tend toward understeer, as most dual cabs will when they're in rear-wheel drive. And then when you power out of the corner again, you will notice the traction control and the stability control kicking in and doing what it's doing to make sure that you keep the HiLux as straight as you can on a slippery road. That's not a bad thing though. I think it's a safety first sort of setup there, and it doesn't detract from the driving enjoyment. If you really know what you're doing and you're spending a lot of time on gravel roads, you're probably going to want to turn those systems off, and you're entitled to do that if you're an experienced driver. But I think for the average punter who's getting in this vehicle and driving on slippery surfaces, I think things like the braking, the steering, and the way that it feels from behind the wheel are all quite confidence inspiring. It certainly doesn't feel loose like it's going to get away from you. It certainly feels confidence inspiring, and I think that's important too, because it's worth noting that not every buyer of this kind of vehicle is either A, experienced at off-roading and slippery surfaces, or B, a previous dual cab owner. A lot of people are coming to this segment having never bought or owned a dual cab before, so I think it's important for those buyers that this gives you that reassuring feel behind the wheel. I did say it before, I love the way Toyota tunes its traction and stability control systems, and it certainly does a better job of that than just about any other manufacturer. Now, if you pull out to overtake on a country road, as I've just done there, it really is quite effortless, and that's where you notice that 550 Newton meter torque figure really coming in and benefiting your daily drive experience. It's got plenty of punch where you need it. You don't have to lean on the throttle too heavily. It gets up to speed quite quickly. We were doing 40 k's an hour there through a school zone. As we came out of the school zone, it's back up to 100 km an hour zone. You get on the throttle and you roll up to 100 really easily. Doesn't feel like the engine's working too hard. I think it's a really well-tuned system, and you might be left asking, why wouldn't Toyota up the power and torque levels for all of the HiLuxes? We did ask that question, and as far as we can tell for now, it's just for this GR Sport. Now, it's hardly surprising that a new Toyota HiLux is a capable vehicle off-road, on-road, and in just about any situation. But what we'd like to know is what you think of it. And is there anything specific that you want us to tell you when we get a HiLux GR Sport through the Drive garage for a longer test? At launch, it's impressed us across a multiple range of disciplines, but let us know what you want us to find out for you in the comments section below. In the meantime, don't forget to hit like if you've enjoyed the video. Click on subscribe so you stay up to date with all of our latest video content. The full review of the new Toyota HiLux GR Sport, that's over at Drive.com.au.